My name is Leah, and I have a question for all of you, really, is why do you think the Second Amendment was intended to protect the rights of Americans to rise up against a tyrannical government when Article 1 in the Constitution allows armed citizens and militias to suppress insurrections, not to cause them? The Constitution defines treason as levying war against the government in Article 3.
I'm going to stop you there because you had a question mark after the first part.
I did.
You know, I think there's a deceptively easy answer to your question. The 1787 Constitution did not include the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment, as Alan would emphasize, is part of the Bill of Rights that were added in 1791 at the behest of people who really were very suspicious of this new national government that was created by the Constitution. And one could quote Emerson or Walt Whitman that the Constitution contains contradictions. And you have put your finger on a very key contradiction.
Do you disagree enough with that to want to argue it, David Kopel?
Supreme Court Justice Story would disagree that there was a contradiction there, as he explained in his treatises. An insurrection is an illegitimate violent action against the government. But if the Second Amendment militias, led by their state governments, were ever necessary to overthrow a tyranny, that would not be an insurrection.
Like the Civil War.
That would be
like the Civil War, right?
Let me talk, please. That would be a restoration of constitutional order. That's what Justice Story's viewpoint is. It would be a dictatorship that was the insurrection, that was lawless, that was at war with the Constitution
So was
itself.
the Civil War a legitimate
Alan,
one or not?
David, are you done?
Yes.
Okay. Dave, Alan, please.
Was the Civil War legitimate, or was it a legitimate insurrection or an illegal insurrection?
I have an answer to that. Which Civil War? Do you mean the Civil War against the federal government, or the Civil War that was fought between 1775 and 1781 in the U.S.?
No, the one that we all refer to
So
the
the
Civil
answer
War
is
with a capital T, a capital C, and a capital W, a guy
So
involving Abraham Lincoln. Remember that one?
So the
Was
answer,
that a legitimate insurrection? That
So
was
the-
led by state militias.
So the answer is
Someone help
that
me
we
out here
think
with
the
the question.
Revolutionary War was legitimate, partly because we were the ones on the winning side, but partly because we think it was a just insurrection. That we think the Civil War was legitimate because it was an unjust insurrection. But to return to your question, it's an excellent question. But if you look at the framing era documents and the post-framing documents, and for that matter, the pre-framing documents, Sir William Blackstone's commentaries on the laws of England, it was understood that while obviously every government must be able to suppress revolutions against it, and it will, whether it's a tyrannical government or not, one merit that was seen at the time, again, I'm skeptical about it today, but was without question historically seen at the time in an armed citizenry, is it would preferably deter tyranny and, if necessary, overthrow it, recognizing that if it failed, they'd all be hanged for treason. That was understood.